My dad ripped up my medical degree on graduation day just because my brother didn't pass. My mom called me selfish. "You'll serve your brother now," they said. But what I did next shocked everyone. My name is Alina Parker, and I was 26 years old when I walked across the stage to collect my medical degree. A moment I had dreamed of since I was 9. But I never expected the very hands that once held me steady through childhood to be the same ones that would destroy everything I built. I didn't hear my name being announced. Not fully. I heard the crowd clapped, my classmates cheered for each other, but inside everything was blurry. I was too nervous. My palms were sweating. My gown stuck to the backs of my knees. And my eyes darted to the front row where I knew my family sat. I scanned for my mom's tearful smile, my dad's proud nod. But what I got instead was cold. My father, Gerald Parker, sat stiff with arms crossed, his expression unreadable. My mother, Lillian, gave a polite clap but didn't even rise for me. And then there was my younger brother, Dylan, his face blank, jaw tight. It didn't make sense until I reached them. They didn't hug me. "No, we're proud of you." No flowers, no photos. Instead, my father reached into his coat pocket and pulled out the folder, the one that held the physical copy of my MD certificate, freshly signed and sealed by the university president. "Dad," I asked, my smile faltering. He looked at me with disgust. "So proud of yourself, huh?" His voice was low but sharp enough to cut bone. "Dubbish, what do you mean?" Then he said the words I'll never forget. "Your brother didn't pass. You think you deserve to walk out of here with this while he failed? What? That's not Dad. This has nothing to do with Dylan. I studied. I worked. R.I.P." The sound was like thunder in my ears. Right in front of everyone, he tore my degree in half. Then again, the edges fluttered like dying leaves. And then he dropped the pieces at my feet. People turned. Students, parents, professors, all staring. Someone gasped. I stood there frozen. It was like being punched without ever being touched. My mother leaned in and whispered through clenched teeth. "You're selfish, Alina. You've always been selfish. Your brother needed more attention. You should have stepped aside." I blinked at her. "You think I should have failed so he could pass?" "You'll serve your brother now," she said. "That's your new purpose. That's what family does. We didn't go to dinner. We didn't take pictures." They walked out of the building like nothing happened. And I stood there surrounded by people I didn't know, holding the shreds of a life I built for nearly a decade. I should have cried. I should have screamed, but I didn't. I picked up the pieces and I smiled because that moment right there, that was the start of the storm they never saw coming. 2 weeks later, I moved out quietly. No fights, no goodbyes. I packed my scrubs, books, and saved internship paperwork into the back seat of my 2009 Honda Civic and drove straight out of Baton Rouge. I didn't leave a note, they didn't even text. They thought I'd come back. They thought they had broken me. But I wasn't just leaving. I was becoming something else. Chicago, Illinois. Why residency year 1? I didn't need their money. I didn't need their praise. I got accepted into Grantwood Medical Center, one of the busiest trauma hospitals in Chicago on the strength of my records alone. The chief of residency, Dr. Kendra Hawthorne, looked me straight in the eyes during the interview and said, "You've got grit." I like grit. And for the first time in my life, someone saw me for me, not my last name. Not for being Dylan's older sister. Not for being the daughter of a wealthy tax lawyer and a socialite mother. Just me. I worked 16-hour shifts. I studied during the 30-minute breaks we were lucky to get. I slept on a cot in the on-call room, ate whatever snacks were left in the vending machine, and stitched gunshot wounds at 3 a.m. with hands that never once stopped shaking. But I never complained because every drop of sweat was a step farther away from the ashes they left me in. Back home, a whole different story. Unbeknownst to me, Dylan had dropped out. After failing 2 semesters in a row and blaming me for being the golden child, he spiraled. My parents dumped all their savings into getting him into private mentorships, online programs, and even bribing university board members. But Dylan didn't want to study. He wanted what I earned without the pain. And when they realized they couldn't buy a medical degree, they turned to what they knew best, shame and silence. They told I abandoned them. They told neighbors I was mentally unstable. They even told Dylan's new girlfriend I was a toxic presence who'd cut herself off. But I knew the truth. And so did the few people who'd ever truly known me. The turning point. It happened on a Wednesday night. A man in his late 30s had come in with a severe abdominal wound. stabbed twice in the lower left quadrant. I was assigned lead under Dr. Hawthorne's guidance. The operation was successful and the man survived. When he woke up, he looked at me and whispered, "You saved me." It was the first time I'd ever been told that directly. And it hit me so hard I had to step out into the hallway and breathe. No one could take that away. Not a torn paper, not a father's hate, not a brother's jealousy, not a mother's silence. I saved a life. That night, I decided I'd never answer to their version of me again. But life wasn't done testing me because 2 days later, I got a call from an unknown number. "Elena Parker," the voice asked. "Yes, this is Samantha Willis from Pine Hill Senior Law Center. Your parents are being sued." My blood ran cold. "What? Why are you calling me? You've been listed as a co-owner of a trust fund account they illegally access." "What? I never signed anything." "Yes, and that's exactly why we need your statement." I sat down slowly, my stomach twisted. They forged my name. They used my identity, my signature, to steal from the very trust account my grandmother had left for my future medical education. I couldn't feel my legs. They had stolen from my future. Even when I was gone, that was the moment something dark inside me rose. Cold, calculating, sharp, no more silence. They were about to find out exactly who they raised. I barely slept that night. I sat on the edge of my twin bed in the residency housing unit, staring at the screen as I retrieved the legal documents the attorney had emailed me. My parents had accessed my educational trust, funds my grandmother had set aside specifically for my medical future, and siphoned off nearly $60,000 over 4 years. Quietly, without telling me, all forged under my name, I felt sick. My hands trembled. Not because of the money, but because after everything, after tearing my degree, after calling me selfish, after dumping their disappointment on me, they still found a way to take from me. And now I could be in legal trouble if I didn't clear my name. I called Samantha the next morning. My voice was steady, though my chest was tight. "I'll cooperate fully," I told her. "Every document you need, every form, every statement, I'll send it. And if we need you to testify," she asked gently, I didn't hesitate. "I'll be there." I wasn't afraid anymore. I was furious. During my lunch breaks, I filed paperwork. After shifts, I compiled every email, bank transaction, and scan signature I could find that proved my innocence. And somewhere in the madness of hospital life and legal prep, I realized something chilling. They never thought I'd make it. They thought I'd fail, crawl back, apologize. Instead, I was building a case and they had no idea what was coming. Weeks passed. I threw myself deeper into work. I saved a child who nearly drowned, helped a mother deliver twins during a blackout, resuscitated a man who coded right in front of me. Every life I touched added another layer to the woman I was becoming, and every small win made my parents' cruelty feel smaller. Until one day, as I was changing in the locker room after a double shift, I saw an email on my phone with a name I hadn't read in years. Subject: "I'm sorry," from Dylan Parker. I just stared at it. My thumb hovered above the screen. I didn't know if I wanted to throw the phone or read every word. Eventually, I opened it. "Elena, Mom and Dad are falling apart. Dad had a mild stroke last week. He didn't want you to know. I know what they did." I didn't stop them, I didn't speak up. I was jealous, I failed, and I hated how easily you succeeded. But now they need help. We all do. Please come home. I read it 3 times. Not once did he ask how I was. Not once did he say, "I'm proud of you." They needed help. That was the only reason he reached out, but I wasn't that girl anymore. I wasn't the daughter who would drop everything and drive home with tears in her eyes. I was Elena Parker, MD, and I was about to walk into court with enough evidence to bury their lies. Court day arrived. I flew back to Baton Rouge. I didn't tell anyone I was coming. I walked into that courtroom wearing a charcoal gray suit, minimal makeup, and the same quiet confidence I'd learned in emergency rooms and operating theaters. My parents were already seated. My mom's hair was perfect, her lips pressed tight. My father sat in a wheelchair, looking smaller than I remembered, but the coldness in his eyes hadn't aged a day. Dylan was there too, slouched in the corner, avoiding my gaze. When the judge asked me to step forward, I did without hesitation. "I didn't authorize those withdrawals," I said. "I have no knowledge of this paperwork. These are not my signatures, and here are the originals to prove it." My voice didn't shake. My hand didn't tremble. I wasn't emotional. I was factual, unshakable. And when the lawyer for the other side tried to imply that I was just a bitter daughter seeking revenge, I looked him dead in the eye and said, "If protecting my name and my future is considered revenge, then yes, I guess I am." The judge ruled in my favor. My parents were ordered to repay the full amount plus fines. Their accounts were temporarily frozen. And more than that, they were exposed to the court, to the community, to the very people they lied to. Afterward, I walked out alone. The sunlight hit my face. The air smelled different. I thought they might chase me, call out, apologize. But there was nothing until I heard the footsteps. It was Dylan. He jogged to catch up with me in the parking lot, his voice hesitant. "Alina, wait." I turned. "What? I didn't know they forged your signature. I thought they were just I don't know. Took the money quietly, you didn't ask, you didn't care." He rubbed his face ashamed. "I don't know what to say, you've changed." "I had to," I replied. "No one else protected me. I had to become my own shield." He stared at me for a long time, then said, "I wish I'd been more like you." And for a moment, just a brief flicker, I saw the boy I grew up with. The brother I used to protect. The one who wasn't twisted by resentment. But I couldn't go back. I couldn't pretend. "I hope you figured out, Dylan," I said softly. "But I'm done carrying this family's weight." I got into my rental car and drove off. Not with triumph. Not with revenge pumping through my veins. Just peace. Real earned quiet peace. But life wasn't quite finished rewriting the script yet because exactly 3 months later, I received an unexpected letter from my grandmother's estate lawyer. My breath caught as I read it. Apparently, there was another fund, one my grandmother had created years before her death, one she never told my parents about it because she feared they'd try to control it, too. It had matured into a significant amount, and I was the sole beneficiary. There was only one condition: that I use it to help others. Not them. Not the family that broke me, but people who needed saving like I once did. I smiled. Not because of the money, but because in thee and someone had believed in me all along. Not because I was a daughter or a sister, but because I was me. And now I had the power to become what they never imagined. Unstoppable. I didn't tell anyone about the inheritance. Not my co-residents, not my mentor, not even my closest friend in Chicago, Kelsey. It wasn't because I didn't trust them. It was because I knew the moment I shared it, the story would become about the money. But this wasn't about money. It was about freedom. That letter from my grandmother's lawyer changed everything. The fund wasn't just generous. It was life-changing. Enough to pay off every cent of my student loans, buy a small condo, and still have plenty left to invest. But what stayed with me more than the number was the final line in the letter. "Use it to help others like you, those who are overlooked, underestimated, and unheard." It was like she knew what was coming before anyone else did. She knew they'd try to tear me down. She knew they'd fail. So I made a plan. Step 1, I took a week off. First vacation in 3 years. Step 2, I flew to Baton Rouge again quietly, not to visit them, but to visit her, my grandmother's old house, now empty, abandoned, but somehow still holding the smell of lemon polish and jasmine tea. The lawn was overgrown. The porch creaked, but the moment I stepped inside, I felt home in a way I never had at my parents' mansion. I stood there for a long time, and then I called a contractor. I didn't tell them the whole story, just that I wanted to restore it, make it into something new. A place for girls like me, medical students with no support, teen moms trying to finish school, young women with potential but no one to back them. I was going to build a safe house, a stepping stone, a real-life exit door for women stuck in situations like mine. The first of many. But of course, word got out. I hadn't been in town 2 days before I saw my mother. She showed up outside the house, arms crossed, sunglasses on, lips tight. "Alina," she said like it was a formality, like I was some distant cousin. I didn't invite her in. She looked around unimpressed. "So this is what you're doing now? Turning her home into what? A shelter?" I didn't answer. She took a step closer. "Do you think this makes you noble? After what you've done to this family," I stayed silent. "You humiliated your father. You turned on your brother. You always thought you were better than us." That's when I finally spoke. Calm, cold, direct. "No, I just refuse to be used by you any longer." She blinked. "You stole from me," I added. "Lied to me. You didn't even flinch when he ripped up my degree. That was my whole life." Her face twitched like I'd hit a nerve. "I came here to offer peace," she said stiffly. "But clearly you're still bitter." I smiled, not bitter. "Just done. Then I turned and walked back inside, closing the door behind me. For the first time in my life, I felt like I had finally shut them out for good. And it felt damn good. The safe house opened 6 months later. We named it the Magnolia Project, a tribute to my grandmother who used to say, "Magnolias bloom even in hard soil." The first 2 girls we helped were nothing like me on the outside. One was 17, kicked out by her stepfather for I want to study nursing. The other was a single mom escaping an offensive relationship trying to finish her GED. But they both carried the same weight I once did. The ache of being unwanted, unprotected, underestimated. We gave them beds, food, and quiet. A therapist came weekly. A career counselor volunteered on Saturdays. I taught them CPR and anatomy basics on Sundays. I never felt more alive. Then, out of nowhere, I got a message from a local reporter named Mara Jennings. She wanted to cover the project. At first, I hesitated. I didn't want attention. I just wanted an impact. But then I remembered what my parents always feared most, exposure. So I agreed. The article dropped that weekend. Doctor turns inheritance into refuge for forgotten girls. The Magnolia story, it went viral locally. Donations poured in. Volunteers showed up. And so did the whispers. Because the article didn't shy away from the truth. It mentioned my degree being destroyed. The forged documents, the lawsuit, all of it. Suddenly, people in Baton Rouge started looking at my family differently. I didn't care for revenge, but I did care for the truth. And then one morning, while organizing medicine cabinets in the clinic wing, I heard footsteps on the porch. Dylan, he looked different, skinnier, tired, his eyes bloodshot. "Elena," he said, barely audible, "I need help." I stood still. No anger, no welcome, just waiting. He ran a hand through his hair. I messed up bad. I tried getting into this business program Mom paid for. Dropped out. Took some money from a friend. He's threatening to sue. I don't have anyone else. My stomach turned. This was the same brother who stood silent as my life was torn apart. Who watched me pack, leave, and disappear without lifting a finger. Now he needed saving. I didn't speak for a full 30 seconds. Then I asked, "Why are you here, Dylan?" "Really? Because I know you help people now." "I help people who try," I said coldly. "Do you want help or do you want a shortcut?" He said, "Nothing," just lowered his head. "I'm not your lifeboat," I added, "but there's a couch inside. There's food in the fridge and a job to be done if you're willing to work." He stared at me, and for the first time in years, he whispered, "I'll earn it." I didn't fully trust him. But I gave him the same chance I gave strangers because kindness wasn't weakness and boundaries weren't cruelty. Dylan stayed. At first, it was rough. He showed up late to shifts, struggled to keep up with the work, and his old habits crept in like shadows. Anger, excuses, blame, but slowly something changed. One evening a girl came into the safe house, frantic. My name was Maya, 16, pregnant, and running from a violent boyfriend. She was terrified, barely able to speak. Dylan was the first to calm her down. He sat beside her, offering a steady hand. I watched from the doorway. He wasn't perfect, far from it. But in that moment, he was real, present, caring. Over the next months, Dylan worked harder than I ever expected. He took classes at the community college nearby, started volunteering with me at clinics, and showed up early every day. It wasn't just about repaying a debt. It was about changing himself. Then, out of nowhere, my parents came back into town. Their faces were lined with regret, or at least that's what they wanted everyone to believe. They showed up at the Magnolia Project's fundraising gala. The room went silent when they entered. Whispers rippled through the crowd. I stood near the podium, watching as my mother approached. "Elena," she said, voice soft but strained, "we were wrong about everything. We want to make amends." My father's eyes were downcast. The pride is gone. I looked at them both and said, "This isn't about forgiveness. It's about accountability. If you want to help, you'll prove it by supporting this place, not words." They nodded, and then something unexpected happened. Dylan stepped forward. "Mom, Dad," he said firmly, "I'm working here now. You'll have to earn your place." They looked stunned. For once, the family wasn't centered on old roles or favoritism. It was about who showed up, who changed, who fought. That night, as the gala ended, I stood on the porch of the old house, now fully restored and bustling with life inside. I thought about everything I'd lost, about the torn degree, the lawsuits, the broken family. But more importantly, I thought about everything I'd gained, strength, purpose, and the power to rewrite my own story. A story where no one could break me. Because I was no longer the girl who needed saving. I was the woman who saved others.